In this section, we're going to take a look at relationships and how they play an important role in dashboards and troubleshooting. In this section, we'll go through what are relationships, how do we create our own relationships directly in the UI, and how do we create our own relationships through the REST API. In this first video, we're going to look at what are relationships and how they're used inside vRealize Operations Manager. We'll cover off what are relationships, how they're used for dashboard widgets, how they're used in troubleshooting, and how do they affect badges. So let's start with what are relationships and how they're used inside vRealize Operations Manager. Relationships are important in terms of understanding how we can troubleshoot objects, as well as how we can roll up metrics from supermetrics and how we can see data and alerts. If we have a look at this dashboard in front of us, we have a relationships overview dashboard that I've created. In here we've used the environment overview widget with the object relationship widget and the advanced object relationship widget. This gives a very easy and quick explanation of how relationships affect each other and how the parent-child relationships can be quite deep in vRealize Operations Manager. For example, if I pick a particular host system, in this case host 5, we can immediately see the widget has changed and it's reflected the parent-child relationships of this host. So for example, above we can see, well, this host is a member of the compute cluster resource, we only have one. Member of the data center, again, we only have one, and a member of the vCenter server. But what's more interesting is if we were to go down the list, we can see things, for example, like which VMs are on this host. If we scroll down, we can see we've still got host 5 selected. We can see, for example, there's a number of virtual machines that are on this host and a number that aren't. The ones that are clearly colored, for example, app-vcac, Artifactory, etc. We can see all the machines that are actually on this host and we can see the relationship they have with their parent. We can also go down another level in terms of a vSphere object and see, well, we've also got 6 data stores all up inside vSphere, but only 3 of them are attached to this host. So we've got our local storage for this host, we have a nice SCSI, shared storage, and we have our shared vSAN storage. All of these objects are only applicable to this host. We can see this as well when we look at the widgets on the right, how these relationships affect various objects in terms of their health. For example, by looking at the host, we can see here that we have an unhealthy virtual machine, the VMware-prod machine, etc. Now let's dive into how we can use relationships as part of troubleshooting. If we leverage these same relationships, I have another dashboard here that shows how we can use object lists and metric pickers in combination with relationships. So for example, let's type a particular virtual machine. Let's say DC prod, that. Okay, here's our DC prod virtual machine. By selecting the virtual machine, we can see its parents. For example, it has a parent resource pool, it has a parent folder, it has a parent port group, it has a parent vSphere host. Importantly though, we can also see its children. We can see its data store child, we can see its the disk that the VM is running on, and we can do troubleshooting up and down the stack like this. So for example, say I was interested in knowing, well, what's the CPU usage of this VM right now? Well, I can see CPU ready of this virtual machine. I can show that graph. What if I want to go up and down the stack to find the trouble elsewhere? Or what if I wanted to go to, well, let's go up to its parent right now, which is currently host 5. I can reset these interactions. And then I can say, well, for host 5, I would like to see CPU demand for the host, CPU contention. As we can see, I could then dive down as well and see, well, VMware-prod has an alert. Maybe I'd like to see if there's any issues with that machine. So again, parent-child relationships can be very beneficial when troubleshooting up and down the stack to try and find a problem where it's occurring in their whole end-to-end system of vROps' view. Another example I'll give is how I can configure dashboards and widgets to take advantage of relationships. Here I have a health chart widget, an object list widget, and an alert list widget. Quite straightforward. If I edit the health chart widget, we can see what I've done is I've said, well, this will be pointing to the children of whatever is selected. Now I'm not using the self provider, I'm using the object list. But whatever I select in the object list, I'll be viewing the children of that object. And in this case, I'll be viewing the health. So if I cancel this, what we can see then, if I type in, for example, the cluster, I'll see any alerts for the cluster which are at the moment, but the dashboard above shows all the children for that cluster object in the health widget above. So I can see host 4, 2, 3, and I also see resource pools because they're children of clusters as well. So we can see here that I've actually used a parent-child relationship to affect how a dashboard displays certain data. Finally, now let's show how relationships can affect widgets and they can affect alerts. If we go to host 4, for example, we can have a look at the different alerts analysis and badge alerts, for example. If we look at badge alerts, we can see here we see badge alerts about this host. We will also see, though, alerts about descendants. So top alerts were held for descendants. So as we can see here, virtual machine has high memory causing stress for VDI 003. That's a child of this object, and therefore it's showing up here under the alert screen. On the matter of alerts, we can also then go to alerts and see, well, at the moment right now, this host only has one alert, lost network redundancy. But what if we were interested to know about the alerts of its children? We could simply, in that case, go show descendant alerts and pick the relevant category. So in this case, I'll pick virtual machine. And then we can see all the definitions of different alerts, children of that host. Parent-child relationships are very valuable when doing alerting and troubleshooting, because we can help see if a problem is limited to one virtual machine, affecting its peers, or is going up the line affecting parents.